Welcome back, awesome listeners, to episode 10, the final episode of season 1 on the Young and Successful podcast. I sincerely hope you enjoyed last week's episode with Graham. He always has an interesting viewpoint on pretty much everything in life, and I myself am looking forward to some pizza. This week, we have a very special guest. She is the first female to come on the podcast, the youngest Canadian ever to go to the Olympics, an Olympic champion, and a model. If you've walked around a mall, you've probably seen her headline clothing brands such as RW & Co. And is overall a very interesting person. I would have none other than my old figure skating partner, Gabrielle Daleman, join us on the finale of Season 1. I am your host, Carl Grin, and I'm thrilled to have you join us as we delve into the money-making magic. So, Gabby, welcome on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
This is going to be a slightly interesting podcast because I've known you for 24 years, way over 20 years.
Yeah,
We
around
started skating
22,
together when we
23.
were 4, 5 kind of thing, like real young. Really started pairs at 6. Then we skated together from like 6 to 10, 4 years or so.
No, 6 to 8.
I
Yeah, and
left at
then
10. I left when Ellie was born. Right when
no,
Ellie was
yeah.
born, we moved up north. We moved to Camden. So we had 4 years there where
Was it really that
it
long?
was 4
Oh
years.
wow.
We were pairs 4. Yeah, see, it flies by when you're having fun, eh? Also, when you're 4 to 10, you don't really notice the age gap.
No, I really don't. Well,
No, that's when we did all of the camp stuff. So I know you pretty well. I feel like I know you very well, but most people may not know you. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I'm 26. I'm an Olympic figure skater. I pretty much my whole life, like there's not a lot to me. Um, Figure skater. I love fashion. I love my dogs, my friends, and I just truly love making a difference.
So you said you're just a figure skater. I feel like you've done a lot more than just figure skating because most people assume just figure skating is what they do at their local club and you go out with friends and what we did even when we were kids, we were still pretty competitive, but the idea that, you compete in your 1 or 2 competitions a year and you go have fun, like
Yeah.
I have friends right now that are just figure skaters and they do other jobs, but they're school teachers or they're do other forms of work and they do synchro on the weekends and it's a really fun job. But your whole life and your everything about you has been figure skating. How have you made a life out of figure skating? Do you train a lot? Do you work a lot? Like what does it mean? Oh, you're just a figure skater.
I mean, for me, just figure skating has kind of been, it's my whole life. I've eaten, breathed, sleep, sweat, cried figure skating my entire life. It's kind of been who I am from the age of 4 to 26. Life outside of skating, I have my close friends. I could probably count them on like one, maybe two hands, and I like to keep them close.
Hmm.
For instance, you're one, I've known you for 22, 24
More than
years.
20. We stopped counting a while ago,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't.
So back to the idea of how figure skating was an entire life of yours. Were you training full-time hours? Was that the equivalent then? Because a lot of people feel like they have to build wealth and do that by going to try to get a paycheck and investing and doing that. You found your way to build wealth through getting better at your sport. Is
Mhm.
that correct? So how much hours would you put in? What was your daily routine when you were training to win Olympic gold medals or actually go places and be the best in the world at something? What would be a routine when you were actually training for sport?
It's you have your hour of warm up, then you have about 2 to 3 hours of skating. You always do your cool down, and then you have your gym, depending what it is. Could be cardio, could be strength, could be plyometrics,
Mhm.
depending on the day. And then you have your hour to an hour and a half of recovery, which is mostly physio, um, getting the body ready for basically the next day. Then you have your mental training, your visualization, and then certain days of the week you'll have your dance, you'll have like you said, you'll have your jazz, you'll have your hip hop, you'll have your ballet. Just it all really depends on the day, but that's like the rough of it.
Yeah, so that feels like it's very encompassing in life. So does that would become expensive, no? Actually, the amount of time on the ice, the amount of training. So how does one come up with like if I were, well, I was a young figure skater that when I was doing things, but if other people were young figure skaters that were inspired by you, how would someone actually go about doing this? How would somebody actually go about making a sport their life? Do you have any advice for that in that regard? Just a little tidbit off topic.
You have to want it.
If you want it. Okay.
Like I was 8 when I knew I wanted to go to the Olympics, and I knew the first Olympics I could go to was 8 years after that.
Yeah.
So I made it my entire life. Like if I had to sacrifice the school dance or being the most popular or anything, like I was willing to do it to get where I wanted to go.
I remember that when we were, I think, around 8, we did that G20 Summit show when they were asking us what our plans were. And just kidding, I'm like, oh, I don't know. You're like, I'm going to win the Olympic gold medal. I'm going to go to the Olympics in
Yeah,
8 years. And
I knew
you had
it.
that all planned 8+ years in advance when we were, 10 years before you were going to the
I
Olympics.
just remember my face vividly, like when you said, "Oh, I don't know," and I kind of looked at you, and I was like,
I thought we were on the same
I
page
was like,
here.
"What do you mean you don't know? Like, I'm winning in the Olympics. Like, I'm going."
Yeah, I thought we were on the same page. You're like, what do you mean? You're coming. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
You're like, "Yeah, no,
Yeah, well, my thing was is figure skating was my parents' sport, right? It wasn't what
yeah,
I was doing, so that was hard for me to be as dedicated as you were, especially just because you chose figure skating. I was
mm-hmm."
thrown into it. I don't regret doing it or anything, but like if you don't have I didn't
If
want
you
it. It
don't
wasn't
have the
my
passion, you're
choice. It
not gonna
wasn't
go
my
there.
choice
Yeah,
to skate, right? I feel like I would have liked it a lot more if I wasn't, okay, Carl, you got to get up and we got to go skating every morning, every
yeah.
time, just because that's what like there was no other option.
Just to clarify, those mornings were horrible. Having to be up at like 4:35 in the morning,
We were on the
awful.
ice 5:36 a.m. every day, all week.
That was horrible. I'm not even gonna like sugarcoat it. It would did not like it.
I remember as a kid, I never really watched hockey games or anything because they all start at like 7, 8, 9 p.m.
Hmm.
and we'd go to sleep at 7 or 7:30. Like we were getting up the next day. I like my 8, 9 hours of sleep, so I'd be every day I'd sleep at
I
7.
remember like falling asleep in my skating clothes, trying to get like that extra like 10 minutes of sleep.
Yeah,
I
and
did
like
not care.
yeah, and we'd try to do that so because we'd be up so early every morning. So I remember the first time my parents said I didn't have to come skating in the morning, and I stayed up and I watched a whole hockey game. I had no idea what was going on. I just knew all my friends liked hockey. I just, in hindsight, it was probably Leafs versus Detroit because it was a blue and white team and a red and white team.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what was happening. And when somebody scored, I didn't know who to cheer for. I didn't know nothing about it. But all my friends were watching hockey that night. I was
So
excited about
literally
it.
how I knew what hockey was is I would always wait for them to score. Other than that, I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, I had no idea. But that was when I was a kid. I was a figure skater. I had no idea. I had friends that played hockey. I'd played ball hockey outside, but I had no idea the rules or offside or anything. And so I remember coming to try to talk with all my friends the next
We
day.
played hockey once together. It didn't end well, but like we played once
Yeah,
together.
but that was just like because we know how to skate. We were better skaters than anybody
Do
else.
you remember what happened the one time we
No,
played
not
hockey?
at all.
We gave each other black eyes.
That's not a surprise. Probably high sticking at the very
And then our
bottom.
parents told us we were not allowed to play hockey together.
Yeah, that's well, just at all. That doesn't surprise me because we are both good on skates and close used to being around people as pairs partners, but not with a stick in your hands and a puck. And
No.
we are also both very competitive. So
Who
if
was
there's a
at
puck there, we both
who
would have.
was at the camp, and I just remember we were so bad. Had no idea how to use a stick.
No, and I actually went and played hockey to a pretty high level after I was 10 because I'm like, okay, I'll learn the stick part.
Yeah.
Skating part was really easy. Yeah. So the general question we usually ask next on the podcast is where are you now? But for you, I'd like to ask what your notable accomplishments have been in your sport. Is there anything you want to bring up that's been, because I know you've won nationals, you've won other things.
Hmm.
What would, okay, actually, let me put it like this.
You know me,
Most
I'm not
people
very
know
good
you've
at
won,
bragging
You
about
know you've won
myself.
an Olympic, let me put it like this. We know you've won an Olympic gold medal. We know you've won nationals, and you know you've have a bunch of medals from world events. Is
Mhm.
there anything that you value that surprisingly mattered more to you than the rest? Because obviously this is something you trained for, the photos are up, and you
Mhm.
know the value that has. But was there one little competition that actually doesn't necessarily hold the same weight in societal standards or something that you didn't think about at the time was as valuable? When you look back on it, you're like, well, winning that little competition when we were 12 or the first time we won, or when we were like 6, we were winning provincials at the time, like that, looking back on it, that helped us get better at skating.
Mhm.
But was there any other weird one along the way that you felt like was important to you that you not now is important, but you didn't realize it at the moment?
I mean, there were definitely a lot of little competitions that got me to where I was that I look back on it now and I'm like, oh, they were a lot bigger than I thought they were. But there is a competition and it is a big competition. Um, but it doesn't get talked about enough is when my fellow teammate Caitlin Osmond and I won silver and bronze at the World Championship,
Mm,
qualifying for the Olympics.
hmm
We knew it was a big thing. We were more like we didn't even like care about the medal at that point. Our whole goal was to get the three spots for the Olympics.
hmm
So all we knew is our two placements needed to combine 13. So we were like, doesn't matter what we do, we just need the three spots. Because
hmm
in 2014, you had to come first or second, and it was so stressful. We just wanted to stress-free nationals at 2018.
Yeah.
So, but like what we didn't realize until like months and months later, we knew it was a big thing, but we didn't realize like how big it was, like especially to the rest of the world, to the rest of the country, was this was the first time any Canadians have ever done that for women, having
hmm
two women on the podium. And we won Athlete of the Year, both of us, and it still to this day is a big story. And we really didn't take the time to appreciate it as much as we want to Because like I remember as soon as we got our final placement, I ran out to her and the first thing we like said is like, "We got the 3 spots." Like really truly cared only about
Yeah.
nationals being stress free.
Yeah, it wasn't even it's getting the 3 spots. It wasn't that you came second, you and her came second and third. It wasn't that you actually got medals that you're on the podium.
Hmm.
It's that down the line that it's you have one, two, and three, and you can actually bring somebody else to the Olympics with you guys, and you can actually have a team, and you can have
Exactly.
3 people that go, right? Like most people generally in a sport, when it's a single person sport, right? It's not like you're
Hmm.
on a hockey team, like you're on a lacrosse team, a football team. It's not like you have a team with
Hmm.
you. They generally just view, okay, did I come first, second, third, fifth, and my points better?
Yeah.
So that you bringing up the fact that is actually more important. How your team aspect is very interesting
Yeah.
in regards to a solo sport, right? Most people only look at a solo sport as it's me versus the rest of the people. It doesn't matter if it's from the same
100%.
country. So you found that the team aspect was really important to you when you were skating.
Exactly. And just because we did nationals together in 2014 and we were the skaters who went to the Olympics, like that was so stressful. Like I was third after the short. I messed up a jump, so I knew I had to skate a clean long, but like just knowing you had to be those placements to get here.
Hmm.
And what a lot of people don't realize is we don't know we're going to the Olympics until a few weeks before.
Yes.
Like I had 2.5 weeks from 2014 to the Olympics to
Hmm.
like know I was going and get ready for it.
That must have been hard because some people train, well, you have been training your whole life for the
Yeah.
Olympics, but the actual mental stress or the opposite of the mental um, clarity you get from actually knowing
Hmm.
you're going, right? Because you were the youngest Canadian ever to go to the Olympics, correct?
Yep.
And well, do you know what? Like, I think, well, why that is slightly interesting because Canada forces you to at least go to the Olympics when you're 16, right? And since your birthday's in,
So you have to be 16 before July 1st,
okay.
in any sport. So I got named when I was 15, and then I went to the Olympics when I was 16 because my birthday is an early
Hmm.
birthday. But because now they've upped the age in the Olympics, I will forever be the youngest Canadian Olympian
Which
ever.
is really, and that which is really interesting because there are younger Olympians from other countries, but that's because they don't necessarily put the same values on allowing children to compete and not, right? Like,
Hmm.
you've competed against Russian figure skaters that are really young, and I don't know if we necessarily agree with that point or not from Russia and Canada and stuff, but it's interesting how Canada's up the age and you have to be a legal adult to go compete.
No, but that's for everywhere now. Like for all the Olympics, for all the countries, you have to be like for figure skating, at least you
Okay.
have to be 16 before July 1st. Same with
Okay.
gymnastics.
Okay.
It just depends. Like the only one I don't know about is the last Olympics. They introduced skateboarding. They had 13, 14-year-olds there.
Oh
I have
yeah.
no idea about those rules,
Yeah,
but
that was
like for
wild. Yeah, that's summer
most,
too and everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
for most is you have to be now you have to be like 17, 18.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
now.
sure it's 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when your first Olympics, there were some pretty other young skaters there with you too, right? You were like,
There were only two others that were my age.
yeah, but that was kind of like I remember watching that one. I'm like, that's kind of wild seeing like me being 16. I'm in grade 10, grade 11.
Yeah, I
And I'm
I
like,
went from high school to Olympics and then back to high school.
yeah, I'm like it's kind of a weird feeling that like most people view these Olympic athletes and these people that are up on the world stage as these like adults with lives and
Hmm.
everything. And you're like, no, you were just a high school kid.
I literally was a kid going back to high school after
Yeah.
this.
Do you feel like going to the Olympics at 16 really catapulted you to win the Olympics at 20, or do you feel like that was a good catalyst, like actually learning to have that experience?
I think it definitely gave me the experience, but you can't prepare yourself for the games. Like you can do all the preparation you want, but
Hmm.
then once you get there, it's like it's a completely different game.
Yeah,
It's like you're playing chess and then you get to the games and you're like, "Oh, this is like three-way chess. Like what the heck?
yeah. That's one from
Checkers to
tr-
chess."
yeah, it's a completely different game you had
Yeah.
studied. Yeah, it's
Like media training, actual training, what you're gonna do when you're there, how you're gonna set up meals. You have a game plan, and then you go there and you're like, well, these notes are basically out the window. Like nothing.
well, because it's also a foreign. You have to deal with the idea that it's Olympics are Olympics, but everyone's in a foreign country with different
Yeah.
this and different that and different people and different altitudes, different cultures. Like it's a you've competed all around the world, but the
Hmm.
Olympics are not like okay, we're gonna be here for a couple of weeks. And
Yeah.
when you used to compete in international events, you're like that international event's the big one, right? Like when you're competing at Worlds for Figure Skating, all that's happening in that arena is Worlds for Figure Skating.
Hmm.
Now you have speed skating and hockey and figure skating and everything all happening at these events all around you. Like
So
your
in your
house,
building where the athletes stay, like each country has their own thing, like
yeah,
in Canada one, you have a common room.
yeah.
And so in the common room where you get your snacks or like you can play some games or whatever, like you have about 8 different TVs and like all 6 events that are on at that moment are on all the TVs. And then you have the 2 TVs of the stats.
Yeah,
of
so
where Canada's medals are staying, where our athletes are standing,
yeah.
and it's like it's very overwhelming. I
Yeah,
remember being there at my first one at 15, 16. I was like, oh my God, what did I just walk into?
because I'm like, would you find it almost overwhelming or calming? Because you join a room and you join an event and you join a place with a bunch of peers, other high performing athletes of your country. However, then now you're bombarded with information. Like you
Hmm.
were saying, like you're learning about every single other person at the Olympics. You're like, I'm just here to
Hmm.
compete myself and play in my solo
Yeah,
sport, but you have to learn about the bobsled team and how they came third, or right? Like it's
100%, 100%.
so.
And like
Do you find that was overwhelming, or do you find that actually helped you focus and?
First Olympics, very overwhelming.
Mm,
Second Olympics, um, I got better at it, but there's still points where you're overwhelmed. Like, I don't think a lot of people know this, but before my gold medal performance, I literally knew that 14 hours before my practice for the next morning. I was actually getting ready for my own individual practice.
oh, really? So they don't give you like the thing like a week out, because
No, because Canada was going into that team event in first place.
yeah,
So they were very quiet, very like,
hmm
we're not letting anyone know ahead of time,
because
basically.
you were in
So,
Russia trying to, yeah, and they've always prided themselves on having good figure skating. So
yeah, so like getting ready, like you put the backpack that says Pyeongchang, like you're getting ready and you're just like, okay, I'm getting ready for my individual practice.
mm,
And I turn to my coach and I'm like, okay, if we get told we're doing team event, I had already done a long that day on my first
yeah,
practice, but I was like, I guess I'm doing another long program
mhm.
to get ready for tomorrow. But I was like, if they tell me I'm not doing it, you have to allow me to go back to my room and just cry and be sad for the day. Like I at least get that.
Yeah, well, it's crazy too because the team event had to be choice. Like it wasn't you were the only female figure skater, right? You did the long and she did the short, correct? Is that what it was?
Yeah. So
Okay.
Caitlin had already done the short, and I knew at that nationals I had to win and I had to perform to even get a chance to go on the
hmm
team event. So when I did that at nationals, I got 3 Canadian records. I did the clean skate. I won.
hmm
So I knew I had more of a chance, but at the end of the day, I still didn't
You
know.
still don't know because it's a very the issue with I think one of the unexpected issues with a sport that is judged and subjective
Hmm.
is that you do have people that can make the thing. It's like if you're a cross country skier in the Winter Olympics, it's like okay, who has the fastest time every time,
100%.
right? There is like it doesn't matter if you're feeling it that day or whatever you traditionally can do that five
Hmm.
kilometers 10 seconds faster than the other guy, so you're gonna go,
Hmm.
right? But with your sport, it's very how you're feeling that day, how you're looking. It's every aspect
Yeah.
of it. It's not just like because you can skate faster, jump higher, be quicker. You can do that versus
Hmm.
most other skaters in the world, but that's not the only aspect of the sport.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a harder thing that most people don't think about is that actually you might not know beforehand, right? Because a lot
No.
of people train in sport, they can plan weeks out and you can, back your meals
Yeah.
up and you can do everything like that.
Yeah. Like I like to go get my skates on 20 minutes beforehand.
hmm
And as I'm like picking up my stuff, getting ready to go down to the practice rink, that's when I get pulled aside and they let me know I'm doing the team event. And I just remember looking at my coach and being like, well, I guess we're doing another long. Like I better
Yeah,
wrap
I
my
guess, I
thing up.
guess I guess we're going around this again.
But
Yeah.
I think when it like really became overwhelming for me is when I went to that common room in Pyeongchang and they were talking, they were like, oh, congratulations on team event and everything. And Scott Moore comes up beside me. He goes, yeah, this little one's gonna help us win gold tomorrow. And I think that's when it kind of hit me. I was like, oh my God, like you just said this. Like this just came out of your
Yeah,
mouth. Like
you are relying on me. I'm relying on.
I'm
Yeah.
part of that now.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, go to bed. Like we gotta do this.
Yeah, because that's now it becomes from a solo sport to a team event again. Like back to what you said, one of your most important thing was the team of you
Everyone on
going
my
to
team,
Olympics.
like Scott and Tessa, are one of the main reasons besides joining our ship that I got into figure skating. Like
Yeah.
from a figure skating point, like my mother's a huge role in why I got into figure skating. But
hmm
like Scott and Tessa, Joanna Shep were my idols growing up. So now
hmm
I'm on the same Olympic team as them.
And they are relying on you to help them get them points to get them another gold medal.
Yeah, and
Like,
like while you're warming up, it's not like la di da, I'm warming up. Like you had the men's that day, the women, and then dance. So I'm watching Patrick
yeah.
as I'm warming up.
hmm
And I'm like, okay, look at his score. Where's Canada staying? We're staying in first. Like, I know we're in
Yeah.
first going to my skate. And I'm just like, I literally remember crying, being nervous, feeling like I'm going to throw up. And all I could keep saying was, don't mess up, don't mess it up,
Yeah,
don't
because
mess it
if you
up,
make a
don't mess it
slight
up.
mistake, it's not just you now that's making
Oh,
that
yeah.
gets, it's the whole team.
I knew if I skated clean, we would, like, I would secure the medal.
hmm
That's what I was told. You skate clean, you secure the medal.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like you can't guarantee every time.
Oh
Like in
no.
some sports, like in a running sport, for
Like you
example,
hurl
if you
yourself in the
fall,
air.
yeah, if you like for example, if you're running and you fall, you get up, you can push a little harder to make up a
Hmm.
few seconds. If you're just getting your hurting yourself, feet in the air, spinning all around a whole bunch of times, and
Yeah.
landing on one small edge and you're back outside edge, right? Like you're
Oh,
doing that and multiple times and spins it fast. So if
it
you're a
throws
hair
you
off,
off,
yeah.
100%.
And so the mental stress you can have on that and still go perform is what most people I think don't even can't even comprehend that how minor of a distance or how minor of a change you can make to actually have everybody for the whole years could have came
Oh yeah.
down just by you messing up figure skating it from that to that. Like
Yeah.
just that little of a thing could have taken the gold medal from everybody else,
Yeah.
which is crazy because most people again think about it's a solo sport. It's only what you do matters to yourself. No, in
Hmm.
that case, you actually matter
It's
to
a solo
everybody.
sport and I need to get my job done. It's a team sport where my job affects the team.
Yeah. So let's move on to where are you now? Are you still skating? Are you still competing? Or
I am
it's the
still skating and I do plan on going to the next Olympics. That is
okay.
my goal.
So Olympics don't necessarily always provide a financial backing. Like you can't just win an Olympic gold medal and
They
your
don't
life
find
is set.
any.
Yes. So therefore, what else do you do? This podcast is about millionaires under 30 and how they can achieve their success.
Hmm.
So what do you do for finances? Like I've some people
Yeah.
sure have shopped at R&W or W and Co or whatever and has seen your face there and stuff. Like, do you just do
Yeah.
modeling? Like, what do you do for?
I've done modeling, I've done entrepreneur, I've done like different clothing line for sports, dress
Mhm.
lines. I I've been asked to do like different acting parts, which I'm starting to get more into probably when I'm done skating. But there's also sponsorship, social media help now, different ambassadors, different spokespeople. So
Mhm.
there's definitely a lot more opportunities that have come because of skating.
So is it because you feel like you've done well and you've actually put yourself onto a more of a public stage? You know, you've done well at these events, and it's not like we know other Olympic gold medalists that have done well then don't actually go be in the public eye, right? They
Hmm.
kind of go retreating back to themselves and don't do as much. Do you believe because you've leaned into the public eye, it's allowed you to try to come out to these opportunities and do these opportunities more?
I think
Or,
so. I think it's also because like I was never fully afraid to be myself.
hmm
And also a big turning point was back in like 2018, 2019 when I came out about like being bullied, eating disorder, mental health struggles. I think being vulnerable in that way also kind of gave me a leg up because
hmm
I wasn't doing it for sympathy. I was doing it to tell my story to help other athletes, other boys, girls,
hmm
even who aren't in sport, just let them know like they're not alone. This is what even people at like the top of the world, the top of their game deal with. Like it's
Yeah.
normal.
Well, we generally always segue after this into the idea of were there any challenges you faced or things or difficulties you had to overcome? But I feel like you've talked a fair bit about some of the challenges you faced and the difficulties
Hmm.
you've had to deal with throughout other interviews and podcasts, and generally you've been very public about that.
Hmm.
So is there any little bit of tidbit of it? I guess we can cut it short and make the idea. Was there a challenge you faced that you felt you have a piece of advice to help people get through that challenge as well?
I
Anyone, you
mean,
just brought up bullying, eating disorders, ADHD,
yeah.
anything like that. Is there any one that you feel like you have a little bit of advice or a little bit to help people get through those similar challenges that might feel like they're not alone in that?
I think just in general, when you combined all of them, is to one, know you're not alone, two, know like you have friends and family that are there to help. You're not a burden to them, you're not a bother. Like they're there to help you, they're there to love you. I was always a lone wolf. I kept everything in until
I
it finally
remember.
exploded.
I remember.
Um,
I'll admit it would explode a little faster, more frequent when we were 6 and 7.
yeah. But like just knowing that like it's okay not to be okay, because that was something for me that was never brought up when I was younger. I
Hmm
didn't know that it was okay to have bad days or not be okay. Like I just told you always had to be perfect and just put a smile on your face and just go day to day. So knowing that,
Well, that's the hard part of a judge sport. Like I think my parents and my family kind of tried to instill it. You can be who you are. It doesn't matter. You know, Gabby's Gabby,
oh
and
yeah,
chase that dream. But then when everybody else in the sport is like, okay, you didn't smile enough, you're not getting the same points.
100%. And with
It's like
figure
it's a yeah.
skating, like you're getting judged off the ice. You're getting like you have nine people on the panel telling you whether you're good enough or
Yeah,
not. For figure skating, you almost have to like be this picture perfect,
at all
like
times it
kind of
feels.
like doll, like in the
Yeah.
media, how you look, how you present yourself, the way you talk, what you say.
hmm
And I think I've just grown out of that. I'm just gonna be who I am and just not be what everyone else wanted me to be.
Well, yeah, I think that's very important. So it seems like your definition of what you view as valuable and what you view as success has changed over the years, right? Because now, back then, you're like, could I win? I have to be this perfect little doll. Now
Mhm.
you're like, I'm still being who I am. So, what is your definition of success?
It's not the medals anymore. It's the support, the friends, the family, and me just doing it for me now. Because I used to do it, yes, because I loved it, but I would do it for that almost that validation, that satisfaction to I am a people pleaser and I shouldn't be. Like I should be doing it for me, not to please other people, to do what they want. I just need to be myself, and I definitely think that's more of the victory.
Yeah, I found myself, I'm a very like gift giver. I like to give people experiences and gifts and that kind of thing
Yeah.
too. But I do it because of my thing. Like I do it because I want to,
Mm-hmm.
right? So but I like if somebody wants me to do something because they want me to do something, I'll not say no way, I'll just walk away.
Yeah.
But I'll go to my way to do something nice for somebody I care about or give a little gift. It doesn't matter if it's a dollar amount or anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the idea of becoming a people pleaser is if it's you personally enjoy certain aspects of it, then it's great. But if
Yeah.
not, and you don't actually like, if you're only doing it because you feel like
Mhm.
you think you should, or it's not helping you, you should probably not.
And it's very hard too. Like I've learned a lot in my life where because I was always trying to be a people pleaser, try to be nice, that a lot of people took that for advantage,
Hmm.
or they didn't see me as Gabrielle Daleman the person, they saw me as Gabrielle Daleman the athlete, and would ask certain things of me and would want certain things. And it's like, okay, I tried doing something because I was a nice person. Now I just feel like you're taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it wasn't really fair. And that's when I kind of like draw the line now. And that's why I've become like more like selfish with myself and my time because it's like
mhm,
I know who my true people are and I'm just gonna stick with that because
I
other people
agree.
have proved me otherwise.
Yeah, I don't know. My whole thing with trust and meeting people at the start is like, for example, if I have a social group and we go for a beer or anything social, I'll get the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the guy never offers for the second round, it's like, okay, I figured out who you are.
Yeah.
It's a small little thing. Like it doesn't matter. But if they say like, hey, look, my money's tight right now, I can't afford this. Thank you for that. I can't pay you back, but I thank you for it. If you
Mm-hmm.
communicate it, that's fine,
Yeah.
right? But if they're in a social setting where it's their turn to provide
Mm-hmm.
assistance and they don't, a lot of people will get used to you just constantly, okay, you buy, you buy, you buy, you
Yeah.
buy, right? So what is your um, viewpoints on financial success then? Is it a dollar in the bank? Is it a net worth statement? Is it a like just money in general then? Because obviously it's not how you view success.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you say financial success is important to you then? Or what's your idea around money then?
I mean, at the end of the day, money comes and goes. It's about what you spend it on, who you spend it on with, what you're doing with life. Are you doing a learning experience, personal experience, doing adventures? I think that's more what I've learned. Because like I said, money comes and goes. You can get it, you can lose it. Doesn't matter. It's what you do with it that matters,
Mhm.
to be honest.
So yeah, so your viewpoint on money is similar to mine. It is a store value in the way that it gives you access to things. It
Yes.
allows you in certain doors, at certain doors, and you can do more. Like personally, right now, the charity I run and everything, I realize that I can spend a bunch of money on going to clubs and traveling this and doing private jets and doing all this crazy stuff,
Hmm.
or I can help give it back to disadvantaged youth, and that the value you can spend on $10,000 that young children might need help is substantially more than if you just went to the club 5 nights and blew a bunch of bottles. Like it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. So I think we're pretty similar on that viewpoint, at least. And money comes and goes. You can get it, you can spend it,
Hmm.
and then how you spend it actually matters, and what you spend it on
100%.
matters a lot more, right? Like you don't dress in you, for instance, if you have all these crazy outfits, you don't go dress in every time you walk outside Louis Vuitton, and you're not,
You're talking to a girl who will look like an athlete, she'll get all dressed up, or she'll look like a hobo. Like there's three looks
yeah, but you don't,
you
but
can
it's not every
dress.
time you walk out, you don't show off your
No.
any form of your wealth or any form of your sponsorships when you walk out. Like there's lots of people, they'll get their first little sponsor and that's all they'll wear every time because they're like, look, I got 2 free hoodies from whatever company. You're like,
No.
yeah,
Like, God, this sounds bad, but like I will wear it. I will do whatever I need to do in it, the videos, the stuff, and then I go back to my normal look.
yeah, exactly. But that's always who you have been. You've never cared to show off and what you
No.
are and who you do. You just do what you do and it's for you and you're not doing it for anybody else. And it's the same with money,
Yeah.
right? So we're gonna slightly transition now into what do you think the most significant lesson you've learned on your journey of success is?
I want to hear yours first because we might want to see what
My
type where
significant
you're going with
lesson
it.
um, on my journey in success um, is I haven't thought about this. Mine has generally always been it's not how much money you earn, it's about how much money you spend and the way you spend it.
Hmm.
So you can have a great life. Like if you make 60 grand a year, and you can have a great life. You can enjoy your life. You can
Hmm.
get out and do things, and you can have a lot of fun things with it. Especially if you enjoy going out in nature and being and hiking and going out and doing those kind of things. But if you were in $60,000 and you're living in downtown Toronto, downtown New York, and you're paying 3, 4 grand a month in rent, and you're trying to live this high life and trying to lease fancy cars and buy fancy watches, you can be miserable with 100 grand, right? You
Yeah.
can be miserable with 200 grand. So it's not necessarily how much money or your overall ability to gain income, but
Hmm.
it's the ability you have to spend your wealth and things you enjoy with it, regardless of what everybody thinks of you,
Yeah.
right? Like I like buying a nice watch, I like buying decent clothes, but I do it for me. I don't care if I get a compliment on the watch. It's the watch I want to store value and it allows me to invest, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
But I don't care if it's a $200,000 watch or a $20,000 watch or $2 watch. If I like it, I'm going to buy it
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. And I'll do it for me. And so this, like a watch like this, I purchase them. I know it goes up in value. It's a daily weighing store value, and I can do that. So my significant lesson I feel like I've learned is that it's not the money you make, it's the money you spend and how you spend it.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I say I have two. It's um you're not defined by what you do or what you've done. It's
Hmm.
how you get back up. Like when you get knocked down, it's
Yeah,
how you
it's a
recover.
very good one for you with the injuries, especially right now you've had and
Yeah.
the surgeries and
And it's
everything. Yeah.
not where you go, but it's who you go with.
Okay, that's a very interesting one because a lot of people on this podcast and other people I've interviewed, I wouldn't say I've left people behind, but as you build your success and your net worth and this kind of
Yeah.
thing, generally people fall off and your
Yeah.
circle gets smaller.
Oh,
And nobody
100%.
brings up the fact that the few people in the circle that gotten smaller with you generally care more about you as a person than
Yeah.
the dollars you make and the success you
Yeah.
have.
And that's one thing I really value is the people who've known me, like you, my other friends that I've known for 2 decades. Like, you're not friends with me because I'm an athlete. You're friends because we've been friends since we were like
Yeah, sport
literally
did bring us
children.
together literally just in the way
Yeah.
that we just happened to be in the same.
But also, I'm in an individual sport and I've gone everywhere in the world. I've seen everything. And I was really lonely. And there were times where, like, I
I
could still
remember.
be like, I would bring my parents, I would bring that, but I never saw them. Like, at my Olympics, I hardly ever saw my parents because we couldn't really, our schedule was big. But you're not
Hmm.
going to get those moments back.
No.
So it, and like, your parents and everyone like tomorrow's never guaranteed.
Yeah.
So I've learned through loss, I've learned through experience that it matters who you're with, not where you go. Because you can go anywhere in the world
Yeah.
realistically,
Well,
but you can't go anywhere with people who actually care about you.
I found that was kind of an interesting point you brought up, but the fact that you can be surrounded by people, you can be on a world stage where there's thousands and thousands of people watching you
Mhm.
and around you at all times, but it's still lonely. You can be surrounded by people and feel alone.
I was at the top of the world many times on the podium and everything, and would look around and I would genuinely feel so lonely.
Yeah. You
Be
don't.
like, where are my childhood friends? Where
Or people that you actually care
are the
about
people I
beyond that,
love and
because
care about? Yeah.
a lot of people generally find, especially in sport, if you feel like you get to the top, you're now immediately surrounded by peers
Hmm.
because you're competing in the same sport, same thing, but they're not the same people. They haven't had the same experiences, right? So
Exactly.
they're your peers, but they're not necessarily your friends. There's no
Yeah.
sincere connection
And
necessarily
like
for everybody.
people look at my Olympics like they were great. I loved my teammates. I loved Team Canada. Like
Hmm.
we were truly great. But like we said, I was 15, 16 at my first one. I was very, very young. I was a minor. And
Yep.
I like, for instance, that you think, oh, she's at the Olympics in grade 10. She has everything. I wasn't allowed down the street to take pictures on the ring without a chaperone.
Yeah.
Like it was very, very lonely, very isolating, and it felt like that for a lot of my career. And that's something now that I'm coming to the end of my career that I've definitely wanted to change and be like, okay, like really enjoy this with your friends and family. Enjoy this for yourself and just like
Hmm.
take every moment in because you did not do that when you were younger.
Yeah. It's a really good segue into kind of the next topic as the idea of were there any significant failures or things that you viewed as that didn't go well that turned out to be a positive along the way, as some success? You're like, wow, I'm happy
Yeah.
I've had this problem because it
Mhm.
changed my trajectory a little bit.
I think my two main ones was when I stepped back from my sport for my eating disorder and my mental health, my anxiety and my depression. And I kind of looked at who was there for me in my personal life and the skating world when I announced this and who wasn't going to be there and who kind of just badmouthed it.
Hmm.
That really showed me who people were. And then this past year when I had ankle surgery, I was like, okay, like I'm at a low, I'm dealing with this. Like, who's going to be there for me? Who's going to help me? Who's
Hmm.
going to support me coming back from this injury? So I think those two were the hardest ones, but the most eye-opening ones.
Because they actually show you what your perspectives are and what your where your values actually
Hmm.
lie. Because every single person can go through hardship and figure out what they value more than the next person, right? So
Exactly.
that's good. So to
And somehow, guys, Carl is still here 22 years later.
surprisingly, um, so in your work slash business slash skating slash training life balance, do you find there is a balance? How do you balance juggling all the social media attention you had, all the attention to the Olympics, all the attention with from your family, your friends, your social life, and then actually just like having a regular relationship with somebody, actually have talking to people. How do you balance it all? Is there a balance? Like,
If I end up balancing them, I'll let you know.
okay.
We're still in the learning.
Yeah, that seems to actually be somewhat of a similar common thread with everybody on the podcast that's young and very successful and done a lot. They're like, oh yeah, no, there is no balance. I don't know. Some days you lean way more one way, some days you lean way more the other way. There is
For
no
sure. Like I've
balance.
definitely gotten better than I was, like before, like there was no social life whatsoever, but it's still very challenging to like
Yeah.
prioritize different things.
So do
'Cause
you have any strategies you help? Because you said you're getting better. Is there anything you
mm,
do? Like, do you get up every morning and go for a run?
well, I can't
You,
run
l-
right now,
I know, but
but
do you love cold baths? I know you wouldn't, but
hate
I know,
them.
I hate the cold.
Hate them. Carla's still trying to get me to try one. Hate it.
Yeah, but so is there
Hate
anything
them.
you actually do like that you find helps you relax and helps you de-stress?
I feel like if I'm able to watch like a bit of my favorite movie or TV show, like before bed and just kind of wind down, I'll do that.
I like that you brought that up because a lot of people feel like the more successful people, like how you wind down is you need to go have a sauna with a nice view or a hot tub or, go meditate with like and spend a bunch of money to wind down.
No,
No, sometimes you can just be in your own bed and wind down
no.
with something comforting,
No,
like a
like
TV show.
especially in this new house, in the summer, like when our pool is open, like going for a late swim, listening to music,
Hmm.
great. Love it.
Yeah. So do you have any advice to any young person that wants to become successful in the idea of sport, finances, business, modeling, or anything? Any piece of advice that you feel like is really important for them to know?
Don't be afraid to dream big. Like if your dreams don't scare you and if people don't tell you you're not, like if people tell you you're crazy for dreaming too big, you know you're doing it right.
Good. Yeah,
Because that's what people were telling me and hell, I went to the first Olympics at 15, 16 years old.
yeah, that's one thing I actually teach a lot of the young kids at camp, and that idea is if you ever feel like you're weird or you feel like you're abnormal and you're what you're thinking about is not what all your peers are thinking
No,
about,
you're doing it right.
that's a good thing because name the definition of success, like being successful is abnormal.
Hmm.
If success was normal, then everybody would be successful, right?
Exactly.
So therefore, if you're weird, if you're outgoing, if you're thinking about different things,
Hmm.
success is abnormal. Name one person that's at the best of everything they've done that's a normal person. They're not because they're successful.
Yeah. Like
S-
from grade two, I was told like my Olympic dream's a pipe dream. I'm not going
mhm.
anywhere. I'm never going to be anything. And that fueled me. Like the hate will fuel you. And that's also how I knew I was on the right path.
Yeah.
Because like it also motivated me to just prove everyone wrong. Like my dreams aren't, they might seem ridiculous to you, but they aren't to me.
Yeah, well, I guess you have to dream big and shoot for more than anybody else has if you want more than anybody else has, right? You
Exactly.
can't just want to do what everybody else is doing and expect to get anything more.
I think I have a few favorite quotes like for like you said for people that bug you or like
Hmm.
that I always say if you have a problem with me text me. If you don't have my number, you don't know me well enough to
Yeah.
have a problem with me. And my
Yep.
second one is if
That first
you
one's from Tom Hardy. Yes, the actor.
I heard it from Tom Holland.
Yeah, well, the interview he brought that up and he said this is his
Yeah.
favorite Tom Hardy quote.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then my second one, I forgot who said it, but they said if you don't want to look at pricing on the clothes, don't look at the clock while you're working.
it's a good one. Yeah, very good
And
quotes.
those are probably two of the biggest quotes I live by.
Yeah, because I don't think you and I ever looked at price of things we wanted to buy for a while now.
No, if I want something, I'll just
You
be like,
get it, and
okay,
then you're like, oh, that one's expensive after you
yeah.
purchase it. Then I'll figure out. Yeah, okay, awesome.
If it's like if I'm going into like like car shopping, then
Yeah, well, it's a
obviously,
car or a home.
yeah,
Like, the cottage I bought up north, you negotiate on price for those kind of things. But
yeah,
if you're like, oh, nice sweater, nice
yeah,
jacket, you can just get it. It's like, oh, this one's $7 more than I wanted to buy.
yeah.
Like, you're not looking at that these days.
No.
Awesome. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Let's go catch up with your mom.
Killing it.
Wow. Well, folks, that's it. That's all she wrote for season 1 of the Young and Successful podcast. I hope you have enjoyed all the lessons we have learned through all the different industries and all the different fantastic guests. Remember that making your first million is not just about the destination, it is about the journey. I hope you have found some idea, some sliver of inspiration from any of our 10 first guests. However, if you are still craving some more stories from these young multimillionaires, we are already in full swing for season 2. We should have some notable guests from 10 completely new industries, such as known actors, active NHL players, inspiring international entrepreneurs, and more local legends. If you've enjoyed season 1, do not forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with your fellow dreamers and doers. And you know the deal. If you've got a story to share, you want to be a guest, or a topic you want us to dive into, feel free to slide in our DMs, drop us an email. We would love to hear from you. Until next season, stay young, stay hungry, and keep chasing those millions with a smile on your face. And always remember, there's a million ways to make $1 million.